So welcome to this episode of History Hunters. We are at Donnell Vista on Highway 120 east of Sonora. And I want to talk to you about Little House on the Prairie. It was a very popular show on NBC that ran from 1974 to 1982. And in the first season, one of the most endearing of episodes was "The Lord is my shepherd." Look at that beautiful view. That's actually in the TV episode. I don't believe that this concrete platform and railing were in place here back in 1974 when Michael Landon and his crew were here, but just take a look at that awesome view down there of Lake Donnell Lake, elevation of nearly 5,000 feet. The lake was actually created by a dam that was finished in 1956. In that episode of Little House, you will see the camera panning along that ridge right over there. Take note of the distinctive volcanic butte right there. You like that view?
Yeah.
Must be a couple of thousand feet drop down there. I'm going to try to find the exact place where Laura was sitting on the rock praying to God when Ernest Borgnine came up to her and introduced himself as Jonathan. Said this was Jonathan's mountain.
I can scare your viewers. Hey, get back.
Oh, are you scared?
Yeah, because the angle that you're at and you're in flip-flops. I'm on flat.
So I seem to be having some difficulty trying to find the exact rock where Laura was sitting on when she was praying to God. There's so many rocks around here, it's almost difficult to find that spot. I have a photo of Laura Ingalls on my cell phone here that I'm using as a guide to find that particular rock that she's sitting on. The Little House episode that we're here to talk about was probably one of the most endearing episodes ever. It was in the first season. The Ingalls were having a child. It was a baby boy, and Laura was pretty upset about the fact that this baby was going to come. She feared that Pa's affection for her would be stolen by the new baby, since Pa always wanted to have a baby boy. She's rather jealous, and when the baby comes, he gets sick, and she feels guilty because she doesn't want to pray that he recovers from his illness. Baby Charles dies, and Laura runs away and thinks if she climbs to the top of the mountain, she can get closer to God to make a deal. Turns out that she encountered a mysterious stranger in the form of Jonathan, who said this was his mountain. He offered her some spiritual advice, gave her a cross. She dropped the cross and floated downstream, and Pa and Mr. Edwards later found it. Kind of took it as a sign that Laura was upstream, so they came up here and they found her. So do you remember that episode I was telling you about?
No.
Not specifically?
Never seen it.
But you watched Little House, right?
Yeah, but it was all never the first series. First what?
Oh, that's right. It debuted in 1972 or 74.
Yeah, everything I watched was after that.
Obviously.
I didn't even know that there was a brother.
Yeah.
At any point, because it was always Laura, Mary, and Carrie.
Yeah.
Mary, Laura, Carrie.
And there were actually two Carries.
They're twins?
They're twins.
Played the role.
Carrie was actually played by two different girls. They needed to have twins because if one was throwing a temper tantrum or asleep or cranky or sick, they needed the other one to shoot.
The kids are only allowed to work so many hours a day on sets. So if you have two of them, you can get a little further.
I actually got to meet both of them at a celebrity event. I think it was the Sonora Film Festival, not far from here. I'm sure they stayed in Sonora when they were up here filming, but those two girls were not part of this episode that we're talking about because it was shot, I think, the summer of 1975 because the episode actually aired in, I think it was December 14th, so it aired just before Christmas time, so it was one of those Christmas special type things. Some of you folks who like Bonanza will probably recognize the fact that the final episode where they deal with Haas, his death in 1972, Michael Landon was directing that, and he chose this spot where little Joe comes to reflect upon the death of his brother high on this mountain, and in the background you will see that lake over there. So yeah, Michael Landon had prior experience here filming his TV shows, so it was only natural that he thought about this place for that episode of Little House. Michael Landon returned here for the last time in September 1986 to film an episode of Highway to Heaven. It was the man-to-man episode. Michael Landon and actor Lee Montgomery were out here on their dirt bikes. So these two trees were not here 46 years ago since Little House was shot here, but I've pinpointed that this is the same boulder that Laura runs past to avoid her dad. Both Michael Landon and Victor French come up that same path from the ridge below, walking right past that same boulder in the rock confirms that it's the same rock. We're still having some difficulty finding the rock that Laura was perched on when she prayed. I'm assuming it's right around here somewhere. I figured that some of the spots where they filmed here could not be too far away because they had to stretch electrical cords from the parking lot, which is right over there, just on the other side of those boulders right there. So it kind of limited how far they could travel with their cameras and such. Landon and his film crew were here in July 1974, and we're here in August, so this is identical to the type of summer day that the crew encountered. A lot of the scenes with Melissa Gilbert and Ernest Borgnine were shot in this flat, sandy area. Michael Landon was typically behind the camera as the director of the show.
That one?
No, I think
She's sitting on it, or she's leaning and...
she's sitting on top of it. I wonder if it could even be this rock right over here.
I think it used to be high off the ground.
Because the camera is like down here.
But that could still be the case for this rock right here. You'd be lower than the rock. Aiming upward. It's flat, can be sat on. What way is she facing?
She's facing this way.
And there's a tree behind her.
Yeah, I think it's this way. We're having difficulty finding Laura's rock, but we haven't given up. I don't think that's it. That's not it. Could it be this one here?
That one has like dents in it on the side. Well, there's,
No.
I mean, this is the only tree though.
I don't think that's it either.
Maybe it was that tree.
Could be. I can't say if that's the rock there covered in the bushes. That may be it up there.
I know you can do it. It would make my pa so happy, and me too. I'm right up here by the big fire. So please, God, answer me. Amen.
Film crew set up in this parking lot. I think somewhere in this area was this picture of Laura having her hair done. Well, we didn't find Laura's prayer rock, but we did find this location right here, where definitely part of it was shot. We tried to match it up with some of the rocks around here. However, we just didn't find a match. There's just too many rocks. Some scenes for this episode were shot in Iceberg Meadow at the end of Clark Fork Road, farther up Highway 108. We're not going to go there today. I recognize this one scene with a stuntman and a horse as being the entrance to the Clark Fork campground, because growing up, that's where my family camped. After 9 seasons and over 200 episodes, Little House went off the air in March 1983. But reruns of the show are still around today, a staple of American TV diet. Michael Landon went on, of course, to produce Highway to Heaven beginning in 1984, and it was in December of that year when I caught up with him and Victor French in Central California while they filmed an episode or two there. That series lasted until 1989. Sadly, Landon died of pancreatic cancer 2 years later at the age of 54. Thanks for joining us on this episode of History Hunters. Sorry we didn't get to find the Prairie Rock, but we want to thank you for joining us on this little rewind of TV history here on the Sonora Pass, and probably at over 6,000 feet. I'm out of breath. As always, we would love to have you subscribe to our channel and give us a like and give us a comment below. Thank you for joining us on this episode of History Hunters.